Demand is smart. Demand is what we should be thinking about. I think in a market where like attention is so much harder to kind of master and come by, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be focused on getting attention, but it means this idea of like unlimited attention, I think is dying a slow death. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar. This is a little bit of an aside, but this is where my brain is taking us. You guys are familiar with Jaclyn Hill, the makeup influencer. She like started on YouTube, like, I don't know, probably what, like 15 years ago or something. Was YouTube a thing 15 years ago? Like whenever it started to be a thing, she started. Um, she's like OG influencer. And she kind of had this like TikTok scandal, I suppose you could call it, where she made a video about how when you aren't posting so often that TikTok is like penalizing you and like not showing your stuff to people. And so many people commented on that video and they were like, that's not what's happening. Like TikTok isn't penalizing you. Like we actually don't enjoy your content anymore. Um, and she just got so much backlash of people being like, your content is unrelatable. Like we don't enjoy you in the way we used to, like keep up kind of thing. And I thought that was so interesting because I do think that sometimes can be how it is. Like we, like instead of her being like, what are my people wanting? How can I connect with them? Like, what are they wanting to see from me? It's so easy to be like, oh, it's the algorithm. Oh, it's that. And like, I deserve a certain amount of like reach and interest and whatever. And like, none of this is true, even for like the most giant OG influencer of, you know, or time or whatever, right? I don't know if she's like the most, but you get what I'm saying. Like, girlfriend's been at it for a long time. And so, like, that's true of all of us too, right? Like we're not owed a certain amount of attention. And it might not be the algorithm, but it also doesn't mean that you have to play that game, right? Like what you really want to do is create demand so that like even if that fluctuates because it will, you have demand, you have people there who want your shit, who are connected to you, who care about what you have to say, right? Sometimes that's going to look like a lot of attention and sometimes that's going to look like a little bit less. But if that can do this, you have a safe business. If you only can have that expanding, you don't have a safe business. Do you know what I mean? Like we have to be able to deal with some of the fluctuation that comes with this. And to me, one of the ways we deal with that is create demand, create connection, right? Like Christina's saying, have an audience that, is like the thing as your audience, not playing to the algorithm, right? Yeah, her TikTok the other day. Maggie said, I think this story is directly related to demand because part of creating demand and most of what we are all doing is being human and being really specific about our humanity and what we're about. Bingo. I don't know this person, so fascinated to hear about this. Yeah. Basically, what people were saying, like to go off of what you're saying, Maggie, about like being human, is people were like, you are so out of touch at this point. Um, Again, like I think it's a really interesting like fodder for our industry too, because like I think right before that she had done this video of like cleaning out her Stanleys or something like that, like Stanley cups, and there was like 50 of them with tags on it or something. And again, like everyone can do what they want, but like what a lot of people were saying is like that just doesn't resonate with me. That doesn't vibe for me. Um, and so again, I think that so often we think we're like owed a certain amount of attention or interest, especially if we've been in this for a long time or whatever. And if not, then we're really quick to blame the algorithm. But like Lindsay's saying, the algorithm will respond to the demand, right? So if we focus on demand, the other stuff, I'm not saying you don't have to be strategic, but I'm just saying like it gets easier where you're not just like, you should be paying attention to me no matter what I post or how I post it, which was kind of what she was saying, which was why people were like, no, no, no. Um, it's more like what actually makes all of this work. And honestly, I think it's a lot of it. Hey, Krista, good to see you. I actually think it's a lot of things. Hey, Adrian. Hey, Linz. So I want to go through that because I don't think it's just one thing, right? It's not like, oh, just do this. Like, I think there's a lot of reasons, for example, that I have demand in my business. And I think there are a lot of pieces that make that work. And I feel like when we pretend that it's so easier, it's just one piece, we kind of like lose the plot. Again, it was almost like Jaclyn was pretending like the only reason she wasn't getting views was because of like a TikTok algorithm. And it's like, sure, maybe that's part of it, right? But like that's not the whole part. And I think like that's the thing with all of us. So anyway, back to demand. Um, I think there are really specific ways that I have that, for example, that may not be relevant to you fully in the sense that like obviously I have a one-on-one business, but most of this is going to be pretty relevant to any business. So the number one thing I think is that I have really always focused on client results and satisfaction, and that builds demand, right? Like if you think about my business, a lot of the reason I have high demand is directly related to having high retention. Okay. So again, this may not be your exact model, but like the satisfaction and results part is like maybe retention is really important to your business model, maybe it's less so. You get me. But for me, if you go, well, why does Lacey have so much demand for her coaching? It's so easy to tie it back and go, well, she just has so much retention, right? Like I wouldn't have as much demand if my spots were constantly open, which like again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but for me, like that's one of the biggest pieces that tracks. Like when people resign and keep their spot, then we're only opening like a couple spots a year or whatever that ends up being. So of course there's more demand for those spots. Like it's just math, right? And so when you kind of start there, it really makes a difference. But the other thing I see that happens with people that makes it really hard for them to build demand is they actually are doing that. They are really good at results and client satisfaction, but they're doing so little to showcase that. I could always be better at this too, by the way, but I do think like I've put like a pretty significant amount of thought into this over the years in my business. So I want to like give you an example. Like this year, the like two things that we did hugely impactful on this. Um, sorry, I was seeing Rebecca's question. I'm gonna look at that in 1 second. Two things we did that were hugely impactful on this: the client retreat that I hosted for clients, like that's obviously going to help with retention, client satisfaction, all of that. And then and that's obviously visible too, right? So it's checking two boxes. But then also I am psychotic. I would even go as far as to, like if my team ever catches me frustrated, the thing that they are almost always going to catch me frustrated about is that I don't feel like we've utilized client results as well as we could have. Like, I bet if Taylor was listening to this, she would be like, that's where you get kind of pissy. Okay. Because to me, I'm like, that is the cornerstone of everything we do. It's not just that I should be helping clients get that, it's that we should be tracking it well. We should be showcasing it well. We should be talking about this. This should be woven into the fabric of everything we do. So the other thing we did besides the event is we made like the client brag book this year. If you haven't seen it, it's really fucking cute. Let me see if I can put it in here. Brag book. Um, there we go. Okay. Um, if you want to get an example. Okay, Kristen said same. Yes. Jaleesa said, I get so many intangible and ambiguous results that I don't know how to market them. And when there are not clear numbers, I have thoughts on that. Rebecca, I'm so sorry. Yours disappeared. Is there any way you could like um, just copy it and repost it? I'm so sorry. Janet said, I fell off the wagon and I stopped posting for a while. What do you recommend I can do to start creating that demand again? I feel so lost to get back into the game. It's keeping me from even posting again. Um, okay, we can answer both of those. So in terms of Jaleesa, what you were saying of like, it's intangible. Like we work really hard, I would say, in some ways to get our clients to share tangible results. Hold on, I'm just copying these questions so I don't forget. To get our clients sharing tangible results. Because a lot of times too, like a lot of my initial kind of stuff, like when clients will just say something about me, they'll be like, oh my God, it's so amazing to work with Lacey. She's so supportive. She's so great. Like I feel so much more empowered as a CEO. And I'm like, bitch, what about your 300K launch? You know what I mean? I'm teasing, but like really, like we keep track of what our clients tell us. And then we will go back and say that to them. We will be like, hey, this is so great. We also have listed that you have these 5 results. Is it cool if we put them in your testimonial? um, like we do effort that. And so I think that can be a thing sometimes where it feels intangible is like, do you know their tangible result and can you reflect that to them? Because a lot of times I think when we're giving a testimonial, it feels like we're just like, oh, great experience, instead of being like, oh, yeah, it's so important that I include results. And so I feel like for me, we really take the lead on some of that of being like, hey, I'll remember that for you. I got you and we'll remind you of it kind of thing. Um, so figuring out like what are the kind of results that you promise and are you able to um what's the okay, sorry. I was telling you guys earlier about like I think I got that gift and my husband was just texting me and was like, "Did we get it? Did we get it?" Anyway, so whatever like your promise is, right? Make sure you're capturing that. Adrian said, okay, sometimes I feel so weird about asking for a testimonial when the work is ever going, I need to gather more. Yes, totally. Never feel weird about that. Like, and if you do, have your team do it, right? But like, that is such an important component. Like, it is your asset for building demand. Um, Kristen said she did a giveaway in exchange for testimonials and got so many. Lindsay's giving Rebecca thoughts. Okay, Rebecca's was, as a therapist, is it ethical to have people say things about me? I get a decent amount of referrals to friends, which is great, but I don't ever ask for reviews. Um, yeah, I think it does depend on like your licensing board requirements. But I also think that here, let's see what Lindsay's saying. I'm a therapist, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, she said licensing in New York State. I found different ways to show my results that didn't include specific people. And a lot of my clients usually do have things they would share with others. So I have played around with that a lot. Yeah, I think like even that, if it's not like, okay, I'm putting a picture of Lindsay and saying X, like, can you walk us through like a transformation of your client? Can you say like this client came here, we did this work, it went here without being like specific or identifying in any way? Um, but obviously that is different. I totally get that. So if you said, what about potential results that are possible, but feeling imposter to talk about these? I mean, I do honestly think that's part of it is like, if you're like, I know these are possible, like I would be like, go get them for someone, right? Like, do you need to work with a client, for 50% off and like help them get that result or whatever? But I really do think this is a demand builder that's worth it. Like, I think so many of us are like, okay, well, what do I do while I don't have the result? And it's like we forget how we are so like able to go get them. It's like, okay, take on three clients and at a discounted rate and like get that result. And the exchange is you're gonna give me a testimonial, right? Um, yeah, Kathy said a Google review, but challenging with a regulatory body. I totally agree with that. Um, so anyway, let me see what the other question was that I grabbed. Oh, stop posting for a while. We'll come back to that. Okay, so this is a big part. Like it truly is huge. Like part of demand is showcasing satisfaction. I have a client I was talking to about this morning, and she has like a 70% retention rate. And she was like, yeah, but should I really be talking about that? Because are people going to think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Like, if people stay with me, shouldn't they just be getting the result right away and being able to move on? But also, like, I want them to be happy. And like, we just talk ourselves in circles around these things. And I'm like, you should be marketing to the fact that you have a 70% retention rate. Like, that shouldn't be a best kept secret. Could someone be like, oh my gosh, why does Lacey have clients stay with her for years and years and years? It's like, because they're growing their business for years. Like we don't have to feel any type of way about that. And like if someone was like, well, I don't want to work with you for years because I want you to give me every potential result in 6 months, I would just be like, oh, we're probably not the right fit. Not that anyone has to stay for 6 years, but if your expectation is that I could help you with everything you could possibly need in your business in 6 months, like that's just not a reasonable expectation, right? So the point is, so often we have these things, we're just not asking for them, using them, or really like treating this like an asset in our business. And that works against us from demand. Like, if I heard that a practitioner I was thinking about working with, 70% of her clients love her so much and love the experience so much they're re-signing, that changes how in demand I perceive that service to be, how much I want it, how valuable I think it is, right? Okay, so the next thing is what is it? Okay, there we go. I was like, please load. I think part of it is also having like a targeted and unique offer. And I know that can be triggering for some people to hear. And I don't mean like it has to be so unique that like nobody has that structure or whatever. But like if you think about a lit up life, part of why I have demand is because my offer is somewhat unique, right? It's one-on-one, which is obviously generic in some ways, but it is unique in how it's priced and the revenue share. And I feel like sometimes we don't talk about that enough in the sense that sometimes having like a somewhat unique angle and or way of providing your service is actually really interesting and important for how you create demand, because if you can get this anywhere, right, there's less demand. If there's only a handful of coaches that do it in this way, there's obviously more demand. It's kind of as simple as that, right? Um, and Jess said also, if you share about retention, you have new clients coming into your world with that in mind in the best way. Exactly, exactly. It does a lot of heavy lifting for you. Lacey said she got distracted. Okay, no problem. You're catching perfect time. So we really do have to hear, or I mean, think about that sometimes, I believe, of like, there are pieces where it's like, yes, you don't have to be like the most differentiated person on the market or whatever, but equally, like, you really do have to figure out how you can differentiate yourself in some ways. And we can't pretend that that's not relevant for demand. Like, it just is. You know, so like you could still teach like business, but like what's the unique spin that they can't get elsewhere? And I feel like sometimes people get really triggered by that because they're like, oh, I don't have a unique thing. But it's like you probably do, but you think it should be so outrageous, right? Instead of being like, what if it was simple? Like, again, mine is just a pricing structure. It's not like I do some like magical thing that nobody else does. I do one-on-one coaching, but like it is a different pricing structure and there's a different kind of like energy behind it, right? There's obviously like a lower base rate, all of these things. And so thinking about what that is for you, is there like a unique process you have? Is there a unique avatar that you support, whatever that might be? Like Maggie says, yes, I do individual marriage coaching for type A women. That's one of my unique points. Exactly. Right. So Maggie does individual marriage coaching. She does not do couples. She does one person, which is unique. Right. And it's for a hyper specific avatar, like type A women married to type B partners, right? That is so detailed where you're just like, oh yeah, I haven't heard anybody talk about that. Like sold, you know? So part of demand is like, now they're not like, oh, I have 10 marriage coaches in front of me that all help type A women married to type B men with individual marriage coaching. They're like, I have Maggie, I'm just going to hire her. Like that helps demand significantly. Um, oh yes, Maggie, you and Lindsay should definitely connect. Jaleesa said, I've been overthinking my offer the whole year. I get it. Kristen said, I do think communicating about how you are the authority and what you do will be key for standing out in 2026. Yeah. And I think, and how you do it in like a unique way or a different way. Like, I really do think we're kind of sick of all the generic stuff. Like, there has to be a differentiating factor. Again, it's like back to that Jacqueline Hill thing that we're talking about at the beginning a little bit. Like, that's kind of what people were saying to her. Like, there's nothing that interesting for me here. Like, I don't want to watch you clean out 50 Stanley cups. Like, what used to be so interesting about her and what people were saying is she used to give these like epic makeup tutorials, and she's kind of stopped doing that. And so I think that's what happens to a lot of us is we have this sort of unique thing, and then it gets watered down in this space, or we overthink it, or we kind of let it go. And it's like we really have to keep coming back to like what makes us unique. Again, partnership model is what differentiates me. And that's why it's so much easier for me to build traction around that. So another one that I would say too is storytelling. I I cannot tell you how much I can see AI content a mile away at this point. I don't know if anybody else feels like that. I'm curious if you do. Maggie says, I do think specificity matters more than ever. Like the difference between a feminist marriage coach and a trad values marriage coach would not just be night and day, but like two different planets. Yes. Like we don't just want a marriage coach, right? Like, because what if I work with them and then they have all of those values? Like we have to be showcasing this stuff. Like I think that demand comes from specificity. Like that's really a huge part of it. So yeah, Kristen said yes. Like I can spot AI content like 100 miles away. Again, I don't know if a lot of you can. Kristen says yes. Like and it feels soulless. Like you're like, that's good, but something just doesn't quite hit. Something feels a little off. And what is the off is it tends to be more broad and it tends to feel kind of soulless. Like the energetic exchange just feels empty, right? Versus when it is someone writing it and like really speaking to it, it's usually going to have a lot more specificity. It's going to have more emotion and it's going to actually feel like a story. And I think that so, I just, Tara said I just jumped in at Tribe Values Marriage Coach. Tara, without context, that would be terrifying. But we are saying that is the opposite of what Maggie does. But I really believe like deeply personal and specific storytelling is such a huge builder of demand because people feel connected to you, connected to the person that is you. I didn't realize the Jacqueline thing was going to be such a thread, but again, that's what people were saying there. Like, we are not connected to you anymore, right? So I really like want to encourage you to like try to storytell in a way that connects us to you. Like, what's unique about you? What's interesting about you? What's like a way you would say stuff? What's a way you would do stuff? Like, what could your audience know about you? Like, I feel like my audience knows some stuff about me. Like, I love Diet Coke. I cry really easily. I'm like hyper emotional, but like very data driven. I'm like, I have all these like little quirks that people know about me because I let them know that about me. Right? And they're not like my deepest, darkest secrets, though I feel like I'm really open about like, oh, here's my attachment um patterns, here's this, here's that. Like it's fine, but it's not required. But it is required for them to feel connected to you in a deeper way. This does not mean you have to like put yourself in this like relatability box if that doesn't feel good to you, or it doesn't mean, pardon me, that in Florida. Um, Seat warmers in Florida, always. It doesn't mean you have to like whatever create this. I feel like that's sort of like a lot of what our industry is saying. It's almost like you have to like create this persona or this brand or this thing. And like what I really believe is people want almost the opposite of that. Like they want the human, the person, the details, the specifics, the energetics of it, right? And it doesn't mean you can't create a brand on that, but it's like let that be your brand. Do you know what I mean? I will never forget the Diet Coke taste. I fucking had that too, Kristen. That still haunts me. It was so close. Maggie said, I love Bridgerton and Formula One and talk about these online, and people send me things like this all the time. It's such a nice surprise and a connection point. Yes. I always say the one thing AI can't take away from us is being human. Couldn't agree more. The sea warmers in Florida is so stuck in my head, and I don't even know why. I am a cozy girl. I just cannot help it. Um, but like this part really is huge for building demand. Like if you're not going to let your audience see you, connect with you, know details about you, that kind of thing, they're over it. Right? Like you could just as well be like an AI created profile. So bringing your own story, your own experience in, letting them see you, letting them know you. I think also in this very like passive consumption era, we're so much more interested in consuming like someone else's life and experience and details than we are in someone telling us what ours should be. You know what I mean? Right. So it's the difference of like 12 things you should do differently in your business versus like 12 things I'm changing in my business in 2026. Like that difference creates a lot of demand because they feel connected to you. They feel like they know you. They feel like you're not someone who's just talking at them, but you're like a real person and they could see having an experience of working with a real person. That is what most of us are craving, right? Um, and so a lot of demand is built in this relational pattern, right? In this storytelling, in this piece of like, I know this human. I know Maggie has feminist values. I know she works with individuals. I know she loves Formula One. I know she's a Bridgerton fan. I know this, this, and this. And so when I get on a call with her, I feel like I'm getting on a call with like a bestie, right? Who is also an expert versus just some like random marriage coach. Like that is like, I think it's just so helpful to see it in that lens of like, that is going to tip the scale very strongly in a certain direction. Um, and it's also what's going to make it so that people are like, I have to work with you. I'll wait. Again, this is where demand is built. I'll wait till your next spot opens. It has to be Maggie, right? They're not like, oh, Maggie's unavailable. I'll go look for 5 other marriage coaches. They're like, it has to be Maggie. Okay, 3 months from now, I'll wait. This is where your demand is built. Um, what else do I want to say? I think part of it is also just honestly is consistency. Um, I think consistently having similar offers that you share over time is huge. Like, I feel like so many people are like, I cannot believe you have like over 900 active people on your wait list. And I'm like, I've been sharing one-on-one for 10 motherfucking years. And I'm not trying to say like it's going to take you 10 years, right? But like demand is built through consistency and repetition. Like it is so known that that is such a core offer in my business that it's so easy to trust. It's so easy to feel connected to. It's so easy to see as like, this is the thing. If Lacey has stuck to this for this many years, this is obviously the thing. If this many results are coming out of this container, this is the thing. And people are willing to wait for it when that's the thing. When there's always a different offer every week, month, whatever, it's harder to go, I have to have this one. I'm willing to wait for this one. My demand and desire is so high for this one, right? And so again, not that like everyone doesn't need to like test different offers or whatever, like by all means, it's not like you need one offer in your business. But I also really do think that so many people miss out on building demand because they're always trying to have like the next thing pop. And like it would pop if they actually like let it happen long enough. Do you know what I mean? Yes, Megan, perfect. Consistency is easy to trust. I think that's exactly it. Toddler words. Um, consistency is easy to trust, right? Like when you're like, oh, like this person trusts their offer enough to double down on it over and over and over again, I trust it more. When it's like that person doesn't even trust their offer enough to double down on, like, I trust it less. Like it's kind of that simple, you know? Julie said I'm guilty of this. Yeah, I get it. Like sometimes we have to experiment, right? But like equally, if sometimes we think that's too much the strategy. We're like, oh, it's always trying a new thing. And that's usually not how demand is built. It really isn't. It's like this thing is so good. It gets people such good results. We track those results. We share those results. We broadcast those. We make them a big deal. We talk about all of those. And then it's just kind of like a repeatable process there to a certain extent, right? And again, I'm not trying to say it's like so easy, but it's like there is ease to that where you're not reinventing the wheel all the time, but actually working really hard to like show how well the wheel operates. So again, like to go back to that piece, it's like what most people do is like don't capture the results very well and they're constantly changing their offers. And so it's really hard for their audience to build trust and demand when they're not seeing the results a ton and they're always seeing different offers. And we think it's such a good strategy because we're like, well, we'll try this and see if it pops. We'll try this and see if it pops. But it's like part of the reason it's not popping, right, is because that's what they're watching. That's what they're seeing. Adrian said my kids are all finally are finally all older and I'm expanding my business. It feels so weird having like 10 more spots open. It feels the opposite of demand. Whereas before, I was always booked out and even took 7 months off socials. Totally fair. But equally, you're just expanding capacity, right? Which obviously is going to impact demand. But I think something important to say there is like this, it's not what you're doing, is what you're doing is not what I'm talking about. You're just like, we have more room. Cool. Well, if you've had enough demand to be off social for 7 months, like you're going to fill that so quick, but it is going to feel weird, right? If I open 10 spots tomorrow, that would feel like a new and weird experience for me, right? But it wouldn't mean anything about my demand per se, except that like obviously the scale would tip for a brief period of time. What we're really talking about is like when there's always something else, right? This is giving me clarity and motivation to focus on one thing next year. I love that. I really do think that makes a big difference because if you kind of put some of these pieces together, right? If you get really good results in client satisfaction, you retain a lot more and then you showcase those, right? And then you build that and you have that really kind of like unique spin and targeted offer. And then you go in with storytelling and then you have that consistency of focusing on one thing. Like it's really hard not to get results when all of those are in place, right? most of what like deters that is like one of these things falls off, you know? Great reminder to frame my old officers as offers is essentially the same as what I'm doing now. Yes, Nova, 100%. 100%. Like we actually don't want it to be like, oh, this is so brand new, da da da. Like, not really. We want to be like, this is tried and true, right? There's like something to that. Um, Another thing is like, well, so we talked about like client results and satisfaction, but let's go back to, because I think Manali was asking this question. It's about like how much you show the results too. This is the asset in your business. So like we keep track in a spreadsheet of like individual clients and their results. I write it down every time I'm on a call with a client or I screenshot it. We have a Google Drive of like all screenshotted client results. That brag book that I put in here earlier is a really good example of like finding like more ways to showcase them. So we're not even just doing a testimonial page, we're doing a brag book page. For a long time, I did what's it called? Client case studies. I think I ended up doing like 26 of them in total. I stopped when I got pregnant and then I just like never picked it up again because it's like a pretty heavy lift, to be honest with you. Um, but things like that where we're really taking like what is already there and maximizing it make a huge difference. So it's not just like get your clients the results. It's like do everything you possibly can with this shit, right? Do you need to do the case study? Do you have a podcast? Do you need to have them on the podcast? Do you need to make a brag book page like that? Do you need multiple ways to showcase results? Do you have them in a highlight? You know, like that's something I'm again like like when I tell you there is not a lot that I am psycho about besides that. Like we have a highlight. I'm so frustrated if like results are not in that highlight, if we are not saving stuff, if we're not on it, because like this is how we showcase why our brand should be the one that you're buying from and not someone else. And if you don't have something like that, again, like go get it, you know, like take on clients for free or scholarship or whatever. Ask a client if you can case study the shit out of them, right? Like, hey, in exchange for coming in for 50% off, can like I write this up as a case study? Can I like track your progress? Can I ask you detailed questions? Can I have you provide a testimonial? Like all of this really does move the needle in a uh, industry where trust is low. That consistency builds trust. That storytelling builds trust. Your results build trust. You having high client retention and satisfaction builds trust. If you are doing all of these things, who the fuck cares about a trust recession, right? If you're not doing all of those things, a trust recession is going to hit you so hard. And so into 2026, if you can think about like, how are we really showcasing that like the results we say our clients get, they get, right? Like Jaleesa said, start collecting evidence. Yes. And without feeling the shame of it, like it is okay to want the evidence. It is okay to ask your clients for that evidence. It is okay to be on top of that evidence. And then, you know, like talking about demand too. Like I used to be hesitant to talk about demand because I would sometimes tell myself, well, if everyone knows how many people are on your wait list, they're going to feel de-incentivized to be on your wait list. If everybody knows that you get a ton of applications, they're going to think, why bother filling out the application? Like I used to kind of get into these stories about like why I shouldn't share all of that. And I really had to push myself outside of that to be like, okay, if someone doesn't want to be on the wait list because there's a lot of people on the wait list, fine. Like I have to be okay with that. Like demand has demand is a double-edged sword, just like anything else is. Um, but like what I get in my business from talking about my demand versus trying to hide it is so much greater than someone that says, why bother? Because honestly, why bother is not like the attitude that I like most want in a client anyway, right? Um, And so it really is helpful to like filter things out, but it also like puts you in ownership of the brand you're building. Like it makes me an authority because I can get 900 people on a wait list. It makes it obvious why someone else may want their name on the wait list. So I feel like not only do we want to build it, but we want to give ourselves permission to talk about it and not be so like, And this comes up with clients all the time. Like whenever we talk about like, okay, should we say you're full or should we this or that? There's always this hesitation of like, oh, but what if? And so much of demand is like letting there be an edge, right? Letting there be an enough is enough component of like, no, I am full and I'm going to say that. And I feel like in our industry where it's like more, 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 we're so hesitant to like put a cap on something. We're like, yeah, but if more people want to pay me, I should just say yes. And like, that's not how you build demand. Like, if you want demand and equally you're like, why don't I just keep saying yes to more and more things? You're working against yourself. It's not possible to have both. Like, the way we have demand is there is a cap, right? And so you have to not be afraid to like one, talk about the cap, or two, let there be a cap, or three, assume that if people know you have a cap, that they're going to run in the other direction. Like usually it's the opposite, right? Um, Tara said it's so funny because there was another call one of my good friends was on, and she was saying that people on it were saying everyone was over testimonial and results. And I was like, what the fuck? What are they relying on then? I mean, I think people might be over the like overblown nature some of it of like this client is this and this and this and this. Like I think obviously like, it can feel fake sometimes, but I totally agree. Like what do we mean people are over results? What do we mean people are over testimonials? Like that is the foundation of what we do. And I honestly think a lot of times when people are saying that, and I have no idea who you're talking about, Tara, just to be like clear, so I'm not trying to like pass any judgment, but I do think a lot of times when people are saying that, it's because they feel uncomfortable. Um, Sharing testimonials and results, or they have some edge about that. And so it's like easier to be like, this isn't even a thing versus like it's always a thing, right? Kristen said, sorry, I missed this. What's a trust recession? People just say like we're in a trust recession in the online space right now, where like trust is so hard to come by. Where like in past years, it was almost just like if you had a podcast, everyone trusted you or whatever. And now it's like you have to work so hard to get them to trust you. Um, Jess said it's like the analogy of water flowing into a container versus having no boundary. Like abundance needs a container to flow into. Yes, perfectly said. And like if you think about it, I think this is true of like almost all cases that we think about. Like, you know how that saying of like once you have money, it's easy to make more money. Like it's kind of the same thing. Once you have demand, it's easy to build a lot of demand, right? Like once I had the wait list, it was easy to build a lot of demand from there. And so it really like builds on itself because there's a perception attached to it. Like I have hair extensions, and I remember when I called to like make my appointment for them, I was like, obviously researching like what is the best hair extension place in Tampa, blah, 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 blah. And I like called and they're like, okay, we can get you in like um 3 months from now. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, like Casey, she's the girl that I go to now and like wanted. She's like, Casey gets really booked out. Like her next, person or availability is 3 months from now. And I'm like, okay, but like once I get in, is it still always gonna be super far out? Or she's like, no, once you get in, you're on like a schedule with Casey, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I'll wait 3 months. I did not fucking want to wait 3 months, you guys. But I wanted someone that was that good, right? Um, and once you have enough of that, like where the perception is like that person's that good that people are willing to wait 3 months for her, it's easy to build more. And it's such an asset in your business, but it does take having patience for sometimes. And I feel like for so many people, they don't want to have to go through that period of being like, okay, I have to say no in order to build demand instead of just figuring out where to put more people. But once you do it, it's like a snowball rolling down the mountain. It's so much easier to build over time. But where the like, it forks in the road, right? Is when people won't let the demand build, where they like kind of try to, but then they're always on to throw something else out there or try to get more people in or whatever. And then they're like, why don't I have demand? It's like you're never letting it build, right? Me with my paper chain. Oh, I love you, Jess. Maggie said I once made a list of everything people wait for, and it was so long. Like we forget we wait for things all the time. Yes, I think obviously we're in this such a quick consumption culture of like same day delivery and 6-second videos and all those things. Like I agree that our like like um kind of like orientation is to not have to wait, but I promise you people will wait for the right thing. And the more we try to build our businesses in a way that says they never have to wait, the more we are building against demand, right? And I don't mean you can't have evergreen or any of those things, like just so we're clear, but I just mean the idea that like most of the time when people are moving to evergreen, it's because they have a program and a product that gets really good results. And so they have a lot of other things they can capitalize on, right? And they can do demand or urgency in other ways. But my point is like sometimes we have to let it go. Or it's like you have an evergreen product and then there's something on top of that. And that's where you build a lot of demand. Like everyone can buy this level of program, but like only certain people can get in this level of program. And again, that's where demand can build in your business. So I hope this helps. Like there are a lot of ways to look at it and a lot of ways to do it, but like most of it is just like foundational business principles, but a lot of it is like being willing to like lean into that and see demand as the point, right? Because when you're like, that's what I'm trying to build next year, that's the point. You're going to have such a better filter for like, so should I do this new offer? Probably fucking not, because that doesn't align with demand. Or, should I, whatever, open 30 more spots? No. What if I actually close it out and like built a wait list for the next launch or something like that? I'm just making that up again, right? It's not like that has to be your strategy, but you get me. So if you want demand to be your goal, make it the goal, right? And then make your decisions aligned to that. So often we're like, where's my demand? But we're not making a lot of decisions that align with demand. So a lot of these are those decisions, like being like, I want to put myself out there. I want to build a relationship with my audience. I want to pay attention to them. I want to see like what's landing with them. Again, back to like that Jacqueline stuff. Like, I don't think attention is owed to me. I really like want to like get in it. I want to have the offer that is unique to them. I want to speak to that. I want to have results. I want to be absolutely psychotic about how we share them. Like those things really build over time, and they're not going to be the thing that like takes you from 0 to 60 in 3 weeks, but they are going to be the things that give so much momentum and stability and consistency over time in your business that actually do snowball into much bigger and much greater results. So I hope that helps. I hope that answered the like, but how question. If it didn't, we'll do one again. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. If not, I hope you have a beautiful week. I will be back next week. And next week will be our last live stream of 2025. So stay tuned. It will be a good one. And I hope y'all have a beautiful week. And I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.